Sky Striker and Plunder Patrol, even in the midst of Kashtira Money, the format is still doing things. Alright, to the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button, smash it so you guys don't miss out more awesome content. So we have the breakdown for this case tournament, and yes, we are going to be carrying a lot more results here as the format kind of shifts here, and we see diversity start to return back to the game that we love here. So, top most represented decks out of this tournament for Top Cut. You had 2 Sword Soul in Top Cut. Now, I'm not surprised to see that Sword Soul has taken back off again. The fact that you're going to get the chance to see this deck, kind of, plow through a lot of these higher ranked tournaments. And I mean, honestly, just what the deck does, it feels pretty good. Now, we also have 2 Despia decks as well. Now, Despia has been projected by a lot of players to be one of the, the second best deck in the format, according to a lot of people, which I think is interesting to kind of see that. But as long as you know what you're doing, you're piloting things correctly, you'll be able to tear through a lot of the modern era format. Now, we also have Kashtira here actually winning the event. 1 Kashtira made its way into Top Cut and then plowed through the entire top 8. We also had 1 Flaunderies. I'm very happy to see that the birds are still doing things. You're going to continue to see a lot of Flaunderies evolutions in this format, where a lot of players are going to kind of look around and go, huh, that's actually kind of cool, just to kind of see how this deck is going to shape up and do its thing. And then we had a Plunder Patrol player. I've been super excited to see what this deck would do with the Jord, and it finally is getting the chance to showcase itself here in a way that, honestly, I think is going to catch a lot of people off guard. And then the big, I think, most interesting thing out of this Top Cut was the fact that Striker also locked its way on into the Top Cut as well. That's something you don't really see all that much anymore, especially, after the loss of Mystic Mine. All right, let's pass on over to these top deck list. All right, winning the event here was none other than Kashtira, and there you go. Somebody wanted an example of what I was talking about when I mentioned a deck playing Anti-Spell Fragrance this format. Kashtira. Kashtira sets up and goes into like a snowball effect of advantage going first. Anti-Spell just put so much pressure on the rest of the format and allows this deck to capitalize on a lot of people. They're just kind of forced to go, I don't know what to do with this. We're not playing the Nightmare Corruptor Ibli out of this event, but I mean, that's not really something that's really too crazy here. Main decking the Book of Eclipses to round out the mirror match, and your extra deck looks pretty standard. 1 Big Eye, 1 Flare Metal, 1 Draco Sack, a lot of utility cards for you to be able to capitalize on. And this build is only playing double Birth as well. I think that's kind of something important to know as well, is a lot of people are like, you need to maximize on certain options. No, you don't. You can get away with adjusting your ratios and getting 2 better results that way. So lots of things to consider. Next up here, our second place was actually Flaunderies. Now, this is actually kind of impressive. This build is playing the Samorg package in here, which is something a lot of people were, I guess, kind of discussing going towards. This build is not playing Snell. Finally, somebody is getting off the Snell train. So many people have looked and they're like, oh my gosh, you have to play Snell this format. It's like, yeah, it's good, but like, it's not crazy. I see we're also playing Evenly Matched and Ultimate Slayer as well. That's a lot to take in based on this deck. I see that we're also playing the Apex Avian and the Ryza as our options. Like I said, no Snell. And then we're citing the Solemn Judgments and the Harpy's Featherstorm. So a lot of the old ideas that stuck around that made this deck what it was in the previous formats, minus the Barrier Statue, it's still able to perform. It's just, until people understand that this deck can do its thing, we'll have to wait and see. Next up was our first Sword Soul variant here. Now, we are doing our pretty heavy Tenyi shenanigans. I am glad to see that the Tenyi variant is getting the chance to stick around, but it's also going to depend on how much Kashtira that this deck is going to run into at the end of the day. Now, this deck was main decking the triple Book of Eclipse, because this deck can actually smash through an entire field. Your opponent sets up, whatever that they need to at the end of it, and you can just go ahead and clean that up. See, we're playing Talents and Imperm as well, and the Ash Blossoms. Actually, actually main decking triple talents in this deck is not something I've seen a lot of. I also see that we are playing one Change of Heart in the side deck as well. Technically, Jack an opponent's monster and then overlay a Zeus on top of it actually is kind of cute. I like the fact that we've dedicated the one Change of Heart slot just to the one Zeus. That's kind of hilarious at the end of the day. So, alright, I like what I'm seeing here for this. Next up here for the top 4 variant is the Power of Despia. Now, the first big things I see here are, yes, we are still playing the Bysteel package. If you were thinking you were going to get away from that, well, bad news for you. But Magna Hut and friends have been graciously reduced. Right now, we're just going to play Snoraneer just to drop the Lubellion, so you can go ahead and capitalize on your maximum play here. I also see that we are playing one Fusion deployment, which is pretty good. And we're actually playing Thrust in the side deck as well. For as much as I've seen people go, Thrust is bad, you don't need to play it. One player here looks like they actually took advantage of that. So, no real shocker there. But outside of that, I guess the Econs are kind of spicy, and the Eradicators are kind of nice. This duelist was basically rounding out a lot of probably their troublesome matchups, just trying to maximize the best real value that they could. So, makes sense. Next up here was our Plunder Patrol list. Okay, so for this list, we are going to be playing the Rite of Armesier package. That way you can set up your Brave token. If you think Plunder Patrol is going to not be taking advantage of, the equip aspects of this with Faithful Avenger, you're completely wrong. Also, I think the only reason why this deck is able to play right now is because of the Brave package. Like, this deck actually kind of needs... I also see that we are playing Rivalry of the Warlords in here. So you will be doing some slight Floodgate shenanigans. Is it going to be fun? I mean, this deck has to do what it can do to actually survive. It's just kind of, the downside of things. I see we're citing the Anti-Spell Fragrance in here as well. So that's now 2 decks that we're seeing taking advantage of Anti-Spell Fragrance. Overall, not too bad. I once again see another good idea here sticking around. Next up here is our Sky Striker deck. Alright, so we are main decking enemy controllers. Unfortunately, it makes sense. I mean, your opponent's going to have to decide on what modes that they're going to want to hit the most when playing against this matchup. And at least, being able to econ, you're playing one talent, you have double Dark Hole Raigeki. This deck is going to have to plow through the board breakers in order to be able to play the game. And once again, Kashtira having the infinite macro machine running does hurt this deck quite a lot, but you are seeing here that it is kind of rounding out some of these worst matchups and getting the chance to keep up at the end of the day. So that's some really big things to consider here when you're looking at this is just, will we be able to break through a Kashtira, board, and will we be able to maximize and get those best results? And I think the answer is yes, honestly. Next up here is another Despia variant. Now this feels a lot better, but man, oh man, this duelist did not want to let go of the Bysteels. Triple Magna Hut, triple Lubellion, and triple Saraneer. If you were playing tier elements anywhere near this duelist, you were cratered in a 10-foot radius. Like, he was like, oh, I got bite. This is the PTSD result of tier format, making you carry on having this many cards still to counter that deck. We're on 44. We're still doing the Fright for package. Triple Fusion deployment, by the way. That feels a little bit heavy, too, compared to the other variant, but I understand we're trying different ratios here. And then, of course, we're actually side decking the triple Eradicator. So it is kind of nice to see that, Despia has become a deck that can carry through and actually, punish the opponent for what's, kind of setting up within the confines of the format. So, overall, once again, good stuff. I like what I'm seeing here. And then next up is Sword Soul. We're actually playing the Iris Sword Soul in here. Well, that's not something you see all that often. I see we're also playing the Sword Soul of the Abyss as well. I would definitely consider both of those cards to be bricks at certain points, but nonetheless, okay. We are playing 2 Magna Hut, 1 Druis Worm. So in case, I guess we came up against that matchup again, we can go ahead and round it on out as well. But overall, I mean, everything I'm seeing here looks pretty, I feel like, normal at this stage for the format. But what do you guys think about everything? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.